This is not necessarily a draft question, but I guess it is as far as the timing. What's been your level of transparency with Trey as far as what's transpired, as far as teams reaching out to you? What have you told him, and where does it stand?
Yeah. So, generally, Matt, our policy, my policy, if we're actively trying to trade a player, not trying to, or if we're having discussions, for instance, last year with Mike McGlinchey, it became apparent that a year away from that, it was going to be tough to re-sign with Trent Williams in the building and the reality of our roster. I brought Mike McGlinchey up and said, hey, Mike, I never, from being a player myself, I never want you to hear from anyone else that you're being shopped. So I'm telling you, we are going to talk to some teams. If we're fielding inbound calls, I think I'd be doing that every single day if I'm telling every single player. I do think with the sensitivity of Trey's position, maybe a little different. So Trey and I have talked, and we're on the same page, and Trey knows exactly where the situation is. His mindset is all about competing, and I think that's exactly where his mindset should be. We're excited about the position he's put himself in with the work he's done this offseason to, number one, get healthy, number two, improve upon some things that he really wanted to improve upon. And, we don't get to watch all of his workouts. I've got a good view, and he's definitely excited, and I think he has reason to be. And, so, yes, there has been good communication, and we're excited about Trey's ability to go compete for a job.
Can you characterize the calls that you get about him? Are there offers made, or is it just kind of feeling you guys out?
I think there's a lot of smoke, really. It hasn't been extremely active, and it's not like we've put it out there that, hey, we're taking offers for Trey, call 1-800. That's not been the process. People's job in this is to ask questions. Has that happened on a couple occasions? Sure, but hasn't been that substantive. And like I said, we're focused, as is Trey, on his ability to compete and play an integral role on this team. Last year we needed 5, and so we value every single one of those guys, and we're excited about our group. We really are.
Have agents reached out to you about potentially moving him if he doesn't get an opportunity to play?
No.
Frank Gore. Is that sort of laying the groundwork for him joining the front office or the scouting staff at some point? And then you also mentioned Tarek and Justin. Have any of one of those guys sort of filled the role that Rand had been playing in previous drafts?
Not really. They're more focused on the college side of things. Now, Rand did play a part in our college. Rand's a really solid evaluator and had a good feel. I think one of Rand's most unique talents, he's got a great feel for people. And so Rand was tremendous with the 30 visits, with the combine, just getting to know people and having a great feel for that. So we collectively, those guys are skilled at that as well. But different roles, Matt, but they're both incredibly valuable to our organization. And we've kind of, made do without Rand, but you're gonna feel it when you lose a guy like that, and just miss having him around here. He's one of the good people that I've worked with. So, they. Oh, and then Frank. A couple of years ago we had Staley in here. Frank showed an interest in coming in here, and like I said, somebody had made that opportunity available to me years ago, and I was really grateful for it. And so if someone's willing to put the time in and has given as much as he has to the organization, then absolutely we're going to open our arms. And Frank, I think he learned a lot through the process.
You said at the owners' meetings that you would know more about Brock after about 12 weeks. I know we're not quite there yet, but just having him in the building the last week, kind of what has his mindset been, and what have you been able to see so far?
Well, he just what we expected. He's attacking each day. I think he's focused on each day. Dr. Meister had said that an inflection point will be 12 weeks because that's when he's supposed to start throwing. So, but right now he's just really focused on maxing each day. I think with rehab, having gone through it myself, there's a physical component to it. There's also a psychological and emotional and mental component. And part of that is just waking up and really being where you're at. And I think that's what Brock has done a really good job of. and get a lot of people reaching out saying that the fives at the Giants game were really encouraging, and but I think what's more encouraging is what I'm hearing every day from our people from Brock. He's making great progress. We're as I have it, we're 6 weeks out, just finished that 6 weeks, and really doing a good job with it. So.
Is saying that he wasn't really sure, honestly, if he'll be able to play this year. Is that on the table, or is it guys just taking it one day at a time?
I think it's more so Brock being Brock and understanding that he's got to be exactly where he's at, and it doesn't do him or anyone else a lot of good to be speculating about what's to come. And Brock's just jumping in each and every day and really doing well. Go ahead, Jen.
Right now, is he on schedule as far as?
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's doing really well, and as I understand it, he's definitely on schedule, hitting all the checkpoints and doing very, very. We're very encouraged by his rehab. Eric.
Apologies if you already covered this in your initial answer, but is it accurate to say your expectation is Trey Lance is going to be on the roster throughout the 2000?
Yeah, absolutely. I expect Trey to be here, and we're excited about Trey's ability to compete and what he can do for our franchise, just as we were when we drafted Trey. And I think the only thing that's changed this offseason is that Trey's gone and got himself healthy. He was injured last year. He's done a really good job of doing that. He's done some different things in terms of his training this offseason. He's very encouraged by that, and we'll see when we get an opportunity to get out there on the field with him. But we have every reason to be encouraged as well.
You're looking at that position in the draft still, John, in terms of bringing in another maybe low-round draft pick to see what he can do?
We'll do our due diligence. I know a lot's been made about who we've met with, and the only thing I'd say to you, some of those things are true. Some of those are us just doing our job. We're always going to be thorough. We're always going to study. Sometimes that's for 3-4 years down the line. We want to get to know each and every position, and quarterback's no different.
If teams are calling on Trey, obviously something would have to be substantial. Is that fair to say for you to change your stance on that? And how does it factor in kind of with the uncertainty of Brock that you have to take that into account when having those discussions?
Well, I think you definitely have to take that into account. And, we've approached it that way. As good as we feel about Brock's rehab, I think we have to prepare for every scenario. But more so, we're just excited about having 3 really quality quarterbacks in our room and letting those guys go out and compete and vie for a job. And we're excited about that.
Reached out to you about potentially trading for Brandon Aiyuk, and is that something you would consider?
I'm not going to get into specifics on people. We love Brandon Aiyuk, and excited about Brandon being a part of this team. So I'll just leave it at that.
Regarding Aiyuk, with his, if you pick up his 5th-year option, what that number will be next year, and Debo's number, we talked about you can't keep McGlinchey and Trent Williams. It was a DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead situation.
Yeah.
How do you view that looking, I know we're talking about 2024, but is that something you can creatively navigate, having both those guys remain on the roster next season?
Yeah. It's a good question. It's a fair question because I understand the line of thinking. You can't keep everyone. We're trying to do something special this year, and Brandon's going to be a big part of that, and beyond it as well. And so, yes, you always have to think out a few years, but we're really excited about Brandon. Feel like he made another big step next year, and I think the best is yet to come. And so we want him being a part of it. And at some point, you have to figure things out. And I guess we'll take that as it comes. But as of right now and into the future, we're really excited about Brandon Aiyuk and where he's at as a pro, the work he's done to develop as a pro and become one of our core players here.
You don't have to make those official till next week, but have you made the 5th-year decisions on Brandon and Javon yet?
You always like to get through a draft. I want to publicly, before I publicly disclose that, which will happen, we have to by Monday, right after the draft. I want to talk with each one of those guys individually before I do that. So that will be forthcoming.
Doing in his rehab or coming back this season?
JK's doing great. He's really in a good spot. He looks like he looks tremendous. He's preparing. He's excited about his preparation. I think it's a good feeling when you've battled injuries year after year and you're in a healthy spot, and you can see it in the way he's walking around here. He's just very encouraged and in a really good place, and I think he's earned that right. He's worked really hard to be here, and I think we're all really encouraged by it and excited to see what can come.
The interior O-line at the owners' meetings. Feliciano, is he going to be competing for a starting spot, maybe that right guard spot?
I think that's open to him. You know, we rotated Spencer and Brunskill last year. John's a guy who started a lot of games here in the last few years. I think he gives us tremendous versatility at guard and center. Around the league, it's kind of known he's one of those glue guys, one of those guys you want in your room, and so he became a priority for us in free agency. I felt very fortunate that we were able to come out of free agency with John a part of our team, especially once we lost Danny. Those guys are incredibly valuable. Now, having said that, I thought Spencer acquitted himself really well. He's a really talented young man, and I think it's only going to get better. And it's always great to have competition and know you have someone there that if something were to happen at either spot, and I mean all three, really, you've got a guy who's tested, who's battle-tested, who has done it. And so John was really a nice addition for us, and you know, really, really cool to have added him to our group.
In fitting into the team.
He's doing well. You know, they're you know, this phase they can meet, and I think they're having great meetings. He's out there throwing with our guys and doing really well.
The last few years, you've been able to kind of plan for the future, you know, with Banks, Hufanga, guys that maybe don't have to play right away, and then the next year can step in. Does that change at all how you evaluate guys in terms of, you know, maybe this guy's learning curve is a little longer, but we have that leash to do that, or how does that kind of maybe evolve?
You know, I think in both those instances, I don't believe, looking back, that we said, hey, this is a guy who we see starting 2 years from now. You know, but we're not going to put guys out there until we feel like they're ready and they've earned that job. And so those are two occasions with those guys who've turned into really good players. Aaron had to do some things, kind of reworking his body, and he took on that challenge and did a tremendous job of it, and really had a solid year. Huff, we've known this guy was a playmaker. He had a couple people in front of him. This year he earned it, and you know, had an all-pro year. And so we're excited to know that, yeah, and there are sometimes, especially with this roster, a lot of spots are filled. We're always going to add to that and add competition. And sometimes it is, yeah, we could see this guy being a starter in year 2. But we like drafting players we believe can go play right now. And is that more difficult when your first pick's at 99? Sure. And is that more difficult with a roster that's constructed like ours, where a lot of the spots are somewhat spoken for? Sure. But we want to continue to add players who add to the competition and you know, make us a better football team.
You have so many picks from 99 to the end of the draft that it's open to you to take 4 or 5 of them, you know, and go get someone you really want. How do you balance that with also wanting just a lot of picks just so you can hit some more?
Yeah. You know, that's something you have to take. You know, we've had drafts where we're incredibly active, and last year we didn't make one move. That wasn't for lack of trying. You know, we tried to move around. Nothing came to fruition. I think a lot of that's just sitting there, and it's kind of painful to do when you're sitting there, just as it was last year. We picked at 61. It's a lot of sitting and waiting and seeing names go off that you really like. And then, you know, I think what you start doing is saying, hey, if all the players we like are starting to go, okay, now is this an opportunity for us to move up and go get one of the last few that we really have a high grade on? Those things can factor in. But, you know, I mentioned the quality of depth on this draft. I really believe at 99, at 101, 102, and 155, there's going to be players we really like and want to add to our team, and that has me encouraged.
Is someone who could compete at right tackle, or do you see him more as an interior offensive lineman?
Probably more as an interior, but he is a guy, when we speak of him, we talk about five position flex. I mean, I think Nick has that in him. Nick, just talking to our strength coaches, he's a guy really having a great offseason. He's just been here the entire time, making a lot of progress in terms of his strength, his explosion. He's the right type of mindset, and he's a really good talent. I'm excited about his future.
Confidence level and signing the other Nick in the next 3 months, and Is it a non-starter if teams call to ask about his trade availability?
Yeah, that hotline's closed. That never opened. So, you know, as for the other thing, we're going to focus on this draft, and then, you know, I've stated many times that's a priority for this offseason. History says that you know, we have a really good you know, track record of doing that and making that come to fruition. And you know, I'm excited about working on that when the time comes.
As usual, until training camp.
Yes, yeah, doing what the bosses do.
Your track record of finding talent in the kind of middle rounds, third through seventh.
Yeah.
Can you shed light on what it is that has made you guys so successful finding guys who are, you know, starters and even stars?
Yeah. You know, I think, you know, I really believe it's collaboration. I believe it's when your personnel and your coaching staff are in lockstep and there's constant communication, there's constant challenging of each other's views. Hey, we really like this guy. Okay, we didn't see it like that. Let's see if we can get there. I think we really take pride in doing that, and we do it from the top on down. Kyle and myself spend a ton of time watching players together. And so I think when you do that, and you do that throughout the draft, that gives you an opportunity to really hit throughout the draft at any pick. And I think that's something we've done. I think one of the things, too, we forced ourselves to do early on is really not just be vague about what we want at each and every position, but really talk about the traits we want at each position, both physically and mentally, and in the spirit, we call it, you know, of each position. And so I think we've done a nice job of defining that so that when you're in those meetings, everyone knows who's the Niner. And when you have that as a starting point, I think you can start finding those guys. So we aren't perfect. We've had our share of misses, but I'm proud of our track record, and hopefully that continues, because we got a lot right there this year.
Really piggybacking on that, like, what's a Niner? And in 2017, you guys took Joe Williams, and you were like, he wasn't initially on your draft board. You took Keller Witherspoon, and just you personally were like, I don't know about his aggressiveness as far as tackling. I mean, just speaking for you, have you identified more, like, as far as football character and what you believe in? I mean, whether 2017 did it and you've kind of established since then?
Yeah. No, I do think it's an evolving deal as to exactly what we are and who we want. But I can tell you the bedrock of those things, we want tough, dependable, fast. You know, we don't need rocket scientists, but we need smart football players. We want people that are contagiously competitive. You know, do you make people around you better because you're so darn intent upon getting better and competing every day? Those are the kind of guys that play well. And then we like physical players. And I think such that we play with such a physical mentality. I think our mentality is a lot about attacking on both sides of the ball and on special teams, such that when you have someone who's not a fit, it stands out. You don't really have to. So I do think that when we've missed, it's been more that spirit part than it has been the talent. The talent we're pretty good on identifying. I think it's probably the spirit. And so we spend a lot of our focus on trying to learn as much. And that's where the scouts, you really have to rely on the scouts to get to know these players over a course of time. And then sometimes you have the opportunity to meet them yourself, and you put as much time as you can there. So, yeah.
When you look at 99, 101, 102, how do you weigh, you know, the best player you got, you know, on the board, in also relation to, you know, where you guys need immediate help, where do you need help a year from now? What's the organizational philosophy? I guess not just on those picks, but just throughout the draft.
Yeah, we've certainly identified, I think as a starting point, you have to be incredibly thorough because you just don't know who might fall for whatever reason. So you can't just discount all the people you think are going to be gone by 99, and we haven't. We've been very thorough. And then, you know, Matt, what I talked about, you know, the things that we covet from multiple different perspectives. And then a lot of it is who's going to be there. You know, last year I can tell you we never thought Drake Jackson would be there when we picked. There was another guy who we liked along with with Drake, and both of them were there. And we never would have thought that both of them would have been there at 61. So that's another great lesson, that you just have to prepare for everything. Some of it's about, position needs as we see it. Yeah, we have priorities on what we've identified, but ultimately you want to take football players that are going to make your team, going to be around here for years to come, and make you a better team. And so kind of a combination of all those things is how we take it as it comes. And it's going to be a long wait, watching a lot of players that you really appreciate go. But I keep saying it because I am truly confident that we'll come up with some players that we really like there and that are going to help us right away and into the future.
Last one, Cam. One more quarterback question.
Yeah.
How thorough were you guys? Did you look into Lamar Jackson, and is that a possibility at all?
You look into everything, and we seem to be linked to each and everything. I can tell you, I think it's how convicted we are on Brock, on this current group of guys, that, why you're not doing your job if you don't look into things. A lot of those things, I think you're limited by the way our roster's set up, and the other thing is what's your motivation? And while those players, there's more than just Lamar. There's tremendous players, MVP type players. We really like our guys, and we like where we're at. We like our complete roster and how they fit for multiple reasons, and we're excited about that group. So I'll just leave it at that. We, as an organization, really excited about the draft. It's been a really cool process, as it is every year. You want to take the opportunity to thank a few people. Our scouts. We've got tremendous scouts, and a lot of them are here before we got here, and I'm blessed to work with them each and every day. And their professionalism, their work ethic. These guys are led by Adam Peters, and our college scouting director Tariq Ahmad have just been fabulous this process, and ever since I've worked with them. Justin Chabot, our assistant college scouting director, these guys are really important to what we do, and want to really commend those guys for their leadership and their example for our staff. And we are extremely, I'd put our college staff against anyone. And along the same lines, our R&D department. We lost a couple key guys a couple years ago with Kwesi leaving and Demetrius Washington, and we're really fortunate that we haven't skipped a beat. Matt Plonsky leads our R&D department in a really cool way. And then, of course, our coaches, Kyle and our coaches, they're very integral to our process. And this year, it's kind of cool because it's a seamless process. That's a well-oiled machine now. So when guys like Steve Wilkes come in, they learn real quick the way we do things. And it's been awesome to have a new set of eyes and in a couple different instances with Steve and Clint Kubiak, some different perspectives in the meetings as well. Frankie G, Frank Gore sat in a lot of meetings, didn't say much, but sat back and took a lot of mental notes, and it's been cool to share the process with him. And I think we're ready. And I'm not going to have much to do on Thursday, but we'll continue to work right up till we first pick. And I've said this many times, and I'm always an optimist the way I look things, but I think this isn't just being optimistic. I think it's a reality. If you ask kind of what the themes of this draft, I think one of them is the quality of depth in this draft, and so I think that sets up well for our first pick being at 99, then having 11 of them. The quality of depth is really a signature of this draft for me. There's a lot of good football players and a lot that we like, and so that excites me. And that excites everybody. And we've got to have a productive draft. You always have to be infusing youth into your team and quality youth. And, we're excited about the prospects of being able to do that.